Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Tuhin Kanta Pandey, Chairman SEBI, Mr. Ramann, Chairman PFRDA, and Rajkiran Rai, MD NaBFID, MD Bank of India, MD SEBI, and MD LIC, Dinesh Pant, and all other dignitaries who are present here, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to join all of you at this conclave, second year. Last year I was present virtually, but today I was physically present. On a theme that actually sits on the heart of our national ambition, accelerating India's infrastructure growth story. As we gather for the second infrastructure conclave, organized by the National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development, this platform unites thought leaders across policy, finance, and industry at a time when India is poised for meaningful transformation, driving growth through strong domestic levers, even amid elevated global uncertainties. In my remarks today, I will share perspectives on India's macroeconomic resilience and growth trajectory, the critical contribution of the banking and financial sector, the role of infrastructure investment as an engine of development, and the role of infrastructure and development financing institutions shaping India's growth narrative. I also share my expectations from the institutions and the wider financing community, and close with a thought on the road ahead, a call for collaboration and action in pursuit of Viksit Bharat Mission 2047. We all know that India's macroeconomic outlook is very resilient and with great momentum. In fact, the macroeconomic picture is a story of remarkable resilience and robust growth. Just last month, India has marked 79 years of independence. Over these decades, India has traversed an extraordinary journey of transformation. We have progressed from an economy once reliant on imports for basic necessities to becoming a food surplus nation, contributing to global food security. India today ranks among the world's top 6 manufacturing countries, and with our skilled labor force, progressive governance, and conducive business climate, we are poised to emerge as a global manufacturing powerhouse. In the services sector, India's share of global export has doubled from under 2% 15 years ago to over 4% now, a testament to capable human capital and forward-looking policies of India that turn ideas into action. This long-term development has endowed our economy with agility and adaptability. Even in the face of elevated global uncertainties, India's economy has grown remarkable resilience and remained among the world's fastest growing major economies, averaging nearly 8% annual GDP growth over the last 4 years. The most recent quarterly GDP growth was 7.8%, the highest in the last 5 quarters. Our external sector position is comfortable. The current account deficit in the last quarter was under 0.5% of GDP, even as net services exports continue to rise. India's contribution to global GDP growth is projected to increase from about 6.5% in 24 to nearly 9% in 2030, underlying our rising influence in the world economy. We are also firmly on the path of fiscal consolidation with improved quality of expenditure. With these strong fundamentals, India is on course to become the third largest economy in the near future and achieve the status of a developed nation by 2047, the centenary of India's independence. This macroeconomic success story sets a solid foundation for our infrastructure ambitions. It tells the world that India's growth is not only resilient but also driven by reforms and prudent policies, making us a key engine of global growth and a potential leader in shaping the post-pandemic global economic order. Complementing the economy's strength, Indian banking and financial sector has emerged as a pillar of resilience. In 24-25, public sector banks outpaced their private counterparts in credit growth, marking a shift not witnessed over a decade. With the share of net performing as loans below 1%, capital adequacy comfortably well above regulatory requirements, and credit concentration gradually trending towards downwards, the banking sector today stands in its best shape, making it best prepared to navigate the adversities. Similarly, non-banking financial companies also have built resilience with a robust profitability and low stress. Together, these trends point to a robust, adequately capitalized financial system that is well positioned to serve the aspirations of Viksit Bharat. With a robust macroeconomy and the financial sector as the backdrop, infrastructure investment emerges as the critical engine driving India's growth and our vision of Viksit Bharat. The Government of India has accorded highest priority to infrastructure development as a potent lever for productivity and inclusive development. Centre's total infrastructure investment outlay has risen to 19.79 trillion for FY 25-26, an increase of 16.4% over the previous year's revised budget estimates. To put this in perspective, the central government's capital expenditure is budgeted at 5.5% of GDP in financial year 26, up from 5.2% in financial year 25, the highest it has seen in several decades. This sustained fiscal push underscored the government's commitment to building modern infrastructure at a great pace and scale. Beyond budgetary spending, a host of enabling reforms and initiatives have been introduced to accelerate infrastructure development and financing. Please allow me to highlight a few key features that are shaping India's infrastructure growth story. To broaden the financing sources and developing the bond market, National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development has been mandated to set up a partial credit enhancement facility for corporate bonds for infrastructure. This facility will help lower-rated infrastructure issuers improve their credit ratings and tap the bond market for funds. By enhancing credit and reducing risk, PCE will unlock fresh capital for infrastructure and reduce over-reliance on traditional bank lending, thereby diversifying the risk across the financial system. Further, we recognize that harnessing private sector efficiency alongside public investment is vital. Every infrastructure ministry has been tasked to prepare a 3-year pipeline of projects under the PPP mode. To further support private sector participation, access to relevant geospatial data and maps from PM Gati Shakti portal have also been proposed to aid better project planning. Next, keeping in view the rapid pace of urbanization, a new urban challenge fund with a corpus of around 1 lakh crore has been established. This fund will support cities in expanding and modernizing infrastructure from public transport to utilities, ensuring urban centers can meet the evolving needs of our citizens and continue serving as engines of growth. Also, we are also expanding what infrastructure entails. The harmonized master list of infrastructure has been broadened to include large ships and tourism infrastructure, such as hotels and top tourist destinations. This is aimed at strengthening our logistics infrastructure, generating employment and new economic opportunities through multiplier effects of travel and trade. It recognizes sectors like tourism as significant drivers of growth and job creation. To modernize maritime infrastructure, the Maritime Development Fund has been planned with a 25,000 crore corpus, providing both equity and debt financing to support the sector's long-term growth. Further, states are key partners in the infrastructure's push. In the recent budget provides an outlay of 1.5 trillion in 5-year interest-free loans to states. This gives the state government additional financing for capital investments while also incentivizing to pursue reforms. It's a significant boost to state-level infrastructure projects across transportation, urban development, health, education, and many more. Collectively, these policy enablers highlight supply-side push aimed at creating war-head capital to minimize structural bottlenecks, freeing up capital to maximize efficiencies, and bring down the cost of productive development in the country. By undertaking such measures, the public sector clearly signals its recognition of infrastructure as a vital pillar of India's journey to Viksit Bharat 2047. Moving forward, a crucial catalyst in our infrastructure growth story is the role of development finance institutions, especially the National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development. Institutions like these hold a meaningful place in bridging the infrastructure financing gap. Though still young, with under 3 years of operations, it has already laid a strong foundation by crossing ₹2 trillion in cumulative sanctions, and with roughly 3/4 of its loan carrying 15-year or longer tenors, bringing the kind of patient capital that makes large projects viable. In fact, I have no hesitation to say, I think NaBFID has done wonderfully well. I think it's the best institution that has been created in the country in the last several years. It has broadened its reach to 17 of the 37 infrastructure subsectors within a short span of time, and launched a partial credit enhancement product to deepen the bond market, and begun quick equity deployments alongside partnership with the Multilateral Development Bank for co-financing, technical assistance, and capacity building. With these milestones in place, the next phase must move from proof of capability to system shaping impact by the NaBFID. What does the next phase look like? Let me set out my expectations. But first, it should step up as a transaction advisor, willing to shoulder selective early stage risks so that promising concepts become bankable projects. By doing so, it can create a robust pipeline that commercial banks and long-term investors are ready to finance, but with a caveat to ensure that just because we have provided the transaction advisory services, we don't overlook the risk associated with the projects. Second, we should build deep specialization in priority sectors, urban and water. In fact, 2047, the requirement of infrastructure capital, urban sector development is the one which actually required highest the capital. And we need to, I think, country as a whole, DFS collectively, need to develop huge talent pool in the urban infrastructure. Waste management, transport and logistics, digital and data infrastructure, and health and education. In each, it can set the standard. Bespoke risk models, clear DPR checklists, model contracts, and viability frameworks that share revenue risk and enable availability-based payments. Third, we need new instruments at scale so that banks can really rebalance their portfolios every 3 to 5 years while crowding in institutional capital. Fourth, deepen engagement with states and urban local bodies. This is most important and crucial going forward to all of us in the financial sector. Take initiative to prepare DPRs, strengthen bankability through escrow, user charges, and grant layering, provide toolkits and model documents, augment PPP cells, and coverage resources like Urban Challenge Fund for high-quality project preparation. Finally, make technology and data a force multiplier. It should take technological initiatives to leverage various data points and information in coordination with other stakeholders to attract private capital on a sustainable basis. In short, the institution has proven its capability as a national infrastructure bank, and we want actually the National Infrastructure Bank to be the leader in the infrastructure financing and development in the country as we go forward, and also to go actually to coordinate and co-lend with all the infrastructure development financing institutions in the country. We have given the responsibility to the NaBFID. I hope it will rise up to its task, including with your staff. I hope you will build the good, capable staff. Any organization depends on the capability of staff has. That leadership grooming, I think, is an important task the NaBFID should have. Therefore, it shaped the system, standardizing what works, scaling what's bankable, stitching the ecosystem together so that India's infrastructure pipeline flows faster, deeper, and more affordably for years to come. As I conclude, I would like to emphasize the forward-looking vision. All our efforts maintaining macroeconomic stability, strengthening the financial sector, boosting infrastructure investment, and innovating in finance are ultimately aimed at realizing the shared national goal of Viksit Bharat by 2047. Our actions in the present must be firmly guided by this future objective. The government is fully committed to this mission. We continue to introduce next generation reforms like the government did in the recent GST reforms and undertake timely fiscal and monetary measures to stimulate investment demand. With the government doing the heavy lifting from infrastructure spending to policy reform, this is the opportune moment for financial sector and corporates enjoying strongest balance sheets in the current time to collaborate and work together, build confidence and gently nurture a fresh cycle of investments that stands vital for the economy's progress at this stage. As the Bhagavad Gita teaches us, we cannot control every outcome, but we can remain steadfast in our actions. In times of uncertainty, it is our this focus on righteous action, coupled with the ability to adapt, that builds true resilience. We should thus continue to act with determination and optimism, knowing that each bit we build, each megawatt of power we generate, and each rupee we invest in infrastructure is a step towards our destiny for a Viksit Bharat. Ladies and gentlemen, in this spirit of collective endeavor, let us resolve to accelerate our infrastructure development for the betterment of every citizen and to position India as a front runner on the global stage. I wish this conclave a great success in generating actionable insights and partnerships. Thank you all for your patience and participation. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Mr. Nagaraju. I request you to please stay with us a moment longer on stage. And I'd also like to take this moment to thank you for your thoughtful and comprehensive address. Your policy perspectives provides both clarity and direction as we collectively work towards building an ecosystem that supports India's infrastructure ambitions. And now for the next segment, may I once again invite back on stage Mr. Rajkiran Rai ji to please join Mr. Nagaraju. We will be launching a new product, the partial credit enhancement product, here on the dais. And I'd request Mr. Nagaraju to please do the honors and launch this new product, partial credit enhancement.
There are moments in a nation's journey that shape its destiny. India stands at such a defining inflection point today. From being one of the fastest growing major economies to crossing the $4 trillion GDP milestone, India has shown remarkable resilience and ambition. Now, the vision of becoming Viksit Bharat by 2047 must be powered by sustained growth and world-class infrastructure, enabling seamless connectivity, efficient logistics, and inclusive urbanization. Infrastructure investment needs are soaring from 59 trillion rupees in FY 21 to 25 to nearly 100 trillion rupees by FY 26 to 30. Traditional sources, primarily bank lending, are constrained by asset liability mismatches and concentration risks. Exposure norms in banks pose challenges for large ticket lending. The bond market, despite its potential, has played a limited role in infrastructure funding. Institutional investors demand high credit ratings due to regulatory requirement that most infrastructure issuers can't meet. To build the future, India must unlock innovative financing solutions.
NaBFID will set up a partial credit enhancement facility for corporate bonds for infrastructure.
To boost the infrastructure sector, in the Union Budget 2025, many innovative initiatives were announced, and one of the critical initiatives is partial credit enhancement. Reserve Bank of India's recent guidelines paved the way for a product which would encourage bond issuances and widen investor pool. Credit enhancement limits have been significantly increased up to 50% of the bond issue size, compared to just 20% earlier. The scope of eligible instruments has also widened. A broader set of credit providers can be served now, including not just banks. NBFCs, HFCs and AIFIs can also provide PCE facility. And importantly, the capital requirement for providers has been relaxed. Together, these changes aim to deepen India's bond market, attract long-term investors and unlock the capital needed to build the nation's future. In the current bond market, low-rated issuers attract a limited investor pool, high borrowing costs and elevated risk perceptions, making it difficult to raise capital efficiently. With partial credit enhancement, issuers benefit from improved credit ratings, access to a wider investor pool like insurance and pension funds, lower borrowing costs, reduced risk, increased investor confidence, and enhanced market access for lower-rated issuers. We are also in process of partnering with multilateral development banks to maximize impact and unlock additional value for stakeholders. As we look ahead, our commitment remains strong to deepen and diversify India's bond market through innovation, collaboration, and resilience. With that vision in mind, we warmly invite all stakeholders to join us in this journey of strengthening our bond market and unlocking its full potential together.
I'm confident that the partial credit enhancement will accelerate capital mobilization in the infrastructure sector. I trust that this launch will establish a benchmark in the banking industry and encourage other institutions to implement similar initiatives for bond market development and infrastructure development in the country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nagaraju. May I please invite back Mr. Rajkiran Rai to join him on the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, that was indeed an insightful overview of the PSE product and its potential impact. As we move ahead, we now come to a very significant moment of the conclave. It is time for the launch of two landmark reports, which start with partial credit enhancement report. And I would like to invite to the stage Mr. Tuhin Kanta Pandey, Chairman SEBI, to please join our dignitaries on the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome. I would also like to invite to the stage Mr. Siva Subramanian Ramann, Chairperson PFRDA. Report launch, I'd also like to invite to the stage Mr. Rahul Prithyani, Senior Director, CRISIL, ESG Ratings and Analytics, to join our dignitaries on the dais. Can we bring the reports to the stage, please? I request our dignitaries to Mr. Prithyani, thank you so much. We now move ahead to launch our next report, which is Catalyzing Infrastructure Investment and Innovation Towards Viksit Bharat at 2047. May I invite to the stage Mr. K. Ravichandran, EVP and Chief Rating Officer at ICRA. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome him to the stage. Can we please bring the report for catalyzing infrastructure investment and innovation towards Viksit Bharat at 2047.
And be able to view both the reports. We thank our dignitaries for doing the honors and launching these reports. We thank you so much. Moving ahead, ladies and gentlemen, our next keynote session brings us to the capital markets, the backbone of financing India's growth story. It is an honor to invite Mr. Tuhin Kanta Pandey to deliver his keynote address. Shri Tuhin Kanta Pandey took charge as Chairman, Securities and Exchange Board of India in Mumbai in March 2025. Shri Pandey is an IAS officer of Orissa Cadre belonging to 1987 batch. Before joining SEBI, he served as Union Finance Secretary, Revenue Secretary and Secretary Department of Investment and Asset Management, Secretary Department of Public Enterprises and Secretary DOP&T. In his career spanning over more than 3 decades, Shri Pandey has wide experience in the areas of economy and finance, industrial development, tax policy, administration, and has been instrumental in bringing about several institutional innovations, new policies, and systems in the departments he has served. Ladies and gentlemen, please, one more time, give a huge round of applause to Mr. Pandey. Thank you so much, sir.
Shri M. Nagaraju, Secretary, Department of Financial Services, Shri Sivasubramanian Ramann, Chairperson PFRDA, Shri Rajkiran Rai, MD NaBFID, distinguished industry leaders and esteemed guests, a very good morning to you all. It's a privilege to be here today at this infrastructure conference. I would like to thank National Bank for financing infrastructure and development for this opportunity to address this August gathering and share my thoughts on a subject that is central to India's growth story. This infrastructure conference is a great platform to explore innovative solutions for financing, deliberate on challenges, share knowledge, and benefit from the diverse experiences of all stakeholders present here. I am confident that today's deliberations will pave the way for fresh ideas and actionable strategies that will strengthen the foundation of India's infrastructure sector. Infrastructure, as we all know, is more than roads, ports, airports, dams, telecommunication, or power plants. It's the backbone of economic progress. It's what connects producers to markets, people to opportunities, and India to its aspiration of becoming a $5 trillion economy and further to Viksit Bharat. A World Bank study finds that an increase in infrastructure has significant positive impact on country's GDP. India's own journey reflects this truth. Our highways, airports, metros, digital infrastructure have transformed the way we live and do business. What's equally important to recognize is that infrastructure requires capital and in massive quantities. Public resources alone cannot meet this demand. The government and banks cannot and should not carry this burden by themselves. This is where the capital market steps in as powerful engine for mobilizing long-term funds, diversifying risks, and ensuring that capital finds its most productive use. Why are capital markets so critical for infrastructure? Let me highlight a few reasons. First, they bring long-term patient capital. Infrastructure is not a short-term bet. Capital markets allow savings from pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, and long-horizon investors to be channeled into such assets. Second, they help diversify sources of finance. Relying solely on banks or government budgets exposes us to concentration risk. Markets, on the other hand, offer a palette of instruments: corporate bonds, InvITs, REITs, municipal bonds that spread risk across multiple participants. Third, they offer a risk-sharing model. For example, InvITs allow developers to monetize operational assets while investors gain access to stable, yield-generating infrastructure. And fourth, capital markets enforce discipline, transparency, and governance through disclosure norms, independent audits, and investor scrutiny. Put together, these features make capital markets not just financiers, but also guardians of quality and credibility in infrastructure projects. To strengthen the link between infrastructure and markets, SEBI has taken several measures to diversify and deepen financing avenues. Let me begin with the crucial role that our primary market is playing in meeting the capital requirements of infrastructure companies. Through diverse instruments such as IPOs, right issues, FPOs, QIPs, preferential allotments, and private placements, companies in the infrastructure are able to raise long-term equity that fuels their expansion. Some of India's leading infrastructure companies, each with a market cap of over 50,000 crore, together account for nearly 1/5 of the total market cap of listed companies. Over the last decade, infrastructure sectoral indices have delivered annualized returns in the range of 12 to 14%, underscoring the sector's ability to generate steady value for investors. The primary market thus serves as a vital enabler of growth and expansion of infrastructure ecosystem. Alongside the primary market issuances, the real estate investment trust REITs and infrastructure investment trust, that is InvITs, have emerged as one of the most promising avenues for channelizing long-term capital into infrastructure and real estate. Globally, these products have proved their worth as efficient vehicles for monetizing completed assets, recycling capital into new projects, and providing investors with transparent, yield-generating opportunities. In India too, REITs and InvITs have gained traction over the past few years. The National Highways Infrastructure Trust is a great example. By transferring operational road assets into an InvIT, NHAI freed up capital for new highways, while investors gained access to a portfolio of income-generating assets. At present, SEBI registered 5 REITs and 23 InvITs have mobilized 1.5 trillion rupees over the last 5 years, with an asset under management of rupees 8.7 trillion rupees, that is 8.7 lakh crore, as at the end of FY25. These figures demonstrate the growing scale and acceptance of REITs and InvITs as mainstream investment vehicles. To further strengthen this growth trajectory and promote ease of doing business, SEBI has introduced a series of enabling reforms. Some of the recent measures include expanding the scope of strategic investor for REITs and InvITs to facilitate wider investor participation. 2. Reclassification of REITs as equity for investment by mutual funds. 3. Introduction of SM REITs to make smaller real estate assets more accessible to retail and institutional investors. 4. Mandating investment managers of InvIT and manager of REITs to provide an option to the unit holders to attend the meeting through video conferencing or other audiovisual means for all unit holder meetings. 5. Enabled e-voting option for unit holders to encourage their greater participation in decision-making process. Let me now come to alternative investment funds, AIFs. Beyond REITs and InvITs, another important contributor to infrastructure financing has been the AIFs, which have grown rapidly in recent years. These specialized funds can pool resources from sophisticated investors and direct them into infrastructure projects that need patient capital. Significant growth in AIF investments from 1.1 lakh crore as of March 2019 to 5.7 lakh crore as of June 2025. That's 5 times in 5 years. Along with commitment amount of rupees 14.2 lakh crore reflects their growing relevance and potential to catalyze sustainable, inclusive economic growth in years to come. Providing a direct boost to the infrastructure sector, infrastructure funds under Category 1 AIFs have already invested over 7,500 crore as of June 2025. These investments carry real impact on the ground. They are creating a multiplier effect by generating employment, improving productivity, and accelerating overall economic growth. To foster an ecosystem wherein private capital effectively complements the various modes available for infrastructure financing, SEBI has allowed Category 1 and 2 AIFs to create an encumbrance on the equity of its investee companies in infrastructure sector. Further, to facilitate greater capital formation through AIF, we have decided now to reduce the minimum investment threshold for large value funds from rupees 70 crore to rupees 25 crore. This is expected to attract substantial risk capital under a lighter regulatory regime, channelize long-term and sizable investments, particularly in unlisted securities. Municipal bonds. Another critical avenue for financing urban infrastructure is the municipal bond market. Globally, municipal bonds have been a cornerstone of city-level development, enabling urban local bodies to raise long-term funds for essential projects such as water supply, sanitation, transport, and waste management. In India, this market is still evolving, but its importance cannot be overstated. Recognizing this, SEBI has been actively facilitating its growth through regulatory reforms, municipal bond outreach programs, and measures to improve transparency and disclosures. The aim is to empower our cities to access capital markets directly, reduce their dependence on government grants, and create a more sustainable model for financing urban infrastructure. Since 2017, urban local bodies across India have raised around 3,134 crore through 21 bond issuances. Cities such as Chennai, Varanasi, Prayagraj, Agra, Rajkot, Vadodara, and Ahmedabad have all come forward in recent years, signaling growing confidence in this route of financing. While the municipal bond market in India is still at a nascent stage, its potential is immense. With wider participation and consistent issuance, municipal bonds can evolve into a key pillar of funding for urban infrastructure. Green bond. As we look to the future of infrastructure development, sustainability is no longer optional, it is essential. This is where green bonds play a critical role. They channel capital specifically towards climate-friendly and environmentally sustainable projects such as renewable energy, clean transportation, and efficient water management. In this regard, SEBI has put in place a detailed framework for green debt securities, enhanced disclosure requirements, and aligned domestic guidelines with global best practices. Since 2017, issuers across India have raised over 7,500 crore through 24 green bond issuances, widening the pool of instruments available to investors for participating into India's infrastructure growth story. But as with any bridge, we must ensure it is strong enough to carry the weight ahead. And here we face challenges. One challenge is scale. The funds raised so far, whether through municipal bonds or REITs and InvITs, are impressive compared to the past, but remain small compared to the trillions of rupees we need. Another is breadth. Our investor base is still narrow. Institutional investors dominate, while retail and foreign investors are cautious. Thin secondary market trading means liquidity is limited, which further discourages participation. A third challenge lies in project readiness and credibility. Many municipal bodies struggle with weak balance sheets or delayed clearances. So what must be done? We must deepen and diversify the investor base by encouraging institutional investors like mutual funds or pension funds, as well as retail investors to systematically allocate to infrastructure securities. We can broaden participation. The more hands we have holding these instruments, the stronger and more liquid the market becomes. Asset monetization plan of central government has played a key role in development of market for InvITs. Going forward, there is a need to accelerate asset monetization in various sectors such as roads, railways, ports, airports, energy, petroleum and gas, and logistics. State governments, barring a few, are yet to crystallize asset monetization plans to provide further boost to infrastructure creation. This gap needs to be addressed. A variety of products and models exist for such monetization, such as InvITs, REITs, various forms of public-private partnerships, and securitization. India's infrastructure story is inseparable from its growth story. Public finance and bank credit laid the foundation, but the road to Viksit Bharat must be increasingly paved with the dynamism of capital markets. If issuers, investors, regulators, and all stakeholders work together as a team, the results will not be measured merely in crores mobilized, but in kilometers of highways, in hours of electricity supplied, in liters of clean water delivered, in millions of jobs created. That's the promise of capital markets in strengthening infrastructure. That's the promise of infrastructure in driving India's economic development. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for that insightful and forward-looking address. Your emphasis on market depth, governance, and investor confidence adds both clarity and momentum to today's deliberations. Ladies and gentlemen, can we give a huge round of applause? Thank you so much. Our next keynote address comes from a leader who oversees one of the most critical pillars of financial security, pensions. Shri S. Ramann assumed charge as Chairperson, Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority in June 2025. Shri Ramann served as an officer of the Indian Audit and Accounts Service from the 1991 batch. Prior to joining PFRDA, he served as the Deputy Comptroller and Auditor General and Chief Technology Officer in the Office of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. He has previously held several leadership positions, including Chairman and Managing Director